Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel for another Kadena update. So in today's video, I'm going to be looking at potential bear market bottoming targets based on the volume profile for the fixed range, specifically the fixed range from its all-time low down here at 13 cent up to its all-time high. And we'll also be looking at volume profiles on the VPVR, also known as the volume profile for the visible range. So let's jump right into today's video. Now, if you're a veteran of my channel, you'll know this is not my normal chart. I've normally got 1,000,001 different fibs, trend lines, divergences, RSI, etc, etc, etc. But I thought we'd keep it plain and simple today. Not a lot has changed since my last video, so let's look at areas of confluence where there are large volume profiles. So right off the back, drawing from your all-time low up to your all-time high, it's very evident that Kadena really doesn't have a lot of data traded above this region over here. So this is your major area of support between the ranges of 13 cent and 45 cent. Now I can already feel the rocks coming through my window. I'm not saying we're going to go down to these levels. I'm simply letting you know this is where the most amount of volume is traded. As you can imagine, Kadena is relatively nascent. It spent a lot of its time lollygagging around here, had a huge blast up to the upside, huge capitulation, spent another month or so here, and then after that it just took a massive run to the upside without many breaks. And subsequently, when you do look at the fixed range volume profiles from your low to your high, and when you do look at the volume profile for the visible range incorporating all of this data, it's very evident that Kadena has not spent a lot of time trading above these regions. However, we do have a large cluster of support. Can you guess where that next large cluster of support is? Well, if you're a seasoned veteran of my channel, you might already be thinking, is it between $1 and is it down to 80 cent? Because these are the price targets that I've been mentioning for Kadena for a very, very long period of time right now. So I'm not going to remove this box. I'm going to mark this box as red because in my opinion, I believe this is the most bloody potential capitulation that could happen on Kadena. Once again, not predicting that's what's going to happen. I've been saying 80 cent for a while now, so we'll take it one step at a time. But if you do look at the volume profile for the fixed range, once again, not incorporating this data, we're looking at the fixed range after the onset of this horizontal ray in white, so or vertical ray rather. So since this vertical ray, this is the data we're incorporating, and you can see over on the volume profile for the visible range, this is also incorporating older data. But with that being said, there is not a large cluster of support at this range that we're at right now. And also, one last thing to note, there is a floor, and this floor is conveniently lining up with these lows, which does show how powerful of a tool the volume profile for the visible ranges and, volume profiles for fixed ranges, visible ranges, etc. Nonetheless, the volume profiles have been saying, hey, you've got a huge cluster of support between 170 and 138. What do you know? We spent no time trading up here. So subsequently, after you had your all-time high, there's not a lot of volume traded over here during this range. There's a tiny cluster of volume over here. So we spent a little bit of time over here, correlating to the fixed range. This also correlates to the visible range. You spent a good amount of time here, but after that, it's just been a straight landslide to the downside, where if we look since $7.62, which very interestingly, this is basically where I started making KDA videos. I started recording KDA videos at 650. I've been bearish ever since, and you can see why. I mean, we just took a straight run to the downside, and it's very funny to look at it like this, because there's been a lot of times where people have been getting out of bed for these pumps, but when in doubt, zoom out. On the weekly time frame, it's like, where are these pumps? Where are these quote-unquote relief rallies? They're just not really that existent, and that's because there's basically no data traded within these regions. But there is a cluster of data traded right here. There's a cluster of data traded right here, and this is also signified over on the VPVR. This is why we broke back up, spent a large period in time, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and we're currently on the 6th week, just lollygagging at this line at $1.40 basically. So in my opinion, if you take out this floorboard, if you see Kadena break below 140, not only are you going to be taking out the lows of these wicks, you're going to be invalidating all of the volume profiles that we've got, or not invalidating them, but you're going to be dropping beneath them. And there's no data traded around here. There's no data traded beneath there. You can see semi-decent cluster here, not a big cluster here, and then the next clusters start really stepping in around about this range. So What do you know? These clusters are coming in at $1.08 all the way down to 76 cents, which really lines up with my TA targets that I've been saying between the ranges of $1 and all the way down to 80 cents. I would also like to heavily emphasize that beneath these regions, there is not a lot of volume profiles traded whatsoever. We can put a horizontal ray and I'll show you why. So look, we're looking for volume profiles, we're looking for volume traded around this line, and I'll mark it a different color so you can see what I'm talking about. So this pink line, we're looking for volume traded around this pink line. So you've got volume traded, you know, a month of volume, break up, spend like a month here, absolute capitulation. You spend ages down here, break up, you know, you're not at the orange, you're not at the pink line. You come up to the pink line, you spend 2 weeks here and you blast through it. You've got more volume traded up here. And then you come back down to the pink line, you completely wick beneath it, you spend a ton of time around this red box, which is once again why I'm saying the biggest volume cluster is between the ranges of 13 cent and 44 cent. Once again, price targets, which I'm not predicting, but this is where the most amount of volume is traded. After that, you break to the upside, you come back up to this pink line, and what do? You really don't spend more than 3 weeks here. You spend 3 weeks here and then you blast to the upside. You continue going up in a straight line. And this is why we do not have a large amount of volume profiles for Kadena. So this can become very volatile, very quick, as we have been noticing, because we didn't, you know, build up a lot of support over on the volume profiles for Kadena. There's not a lot of room to the downside if you do take out 75 cents. So what do I think is going to happen? Exactly what I've been saying is going to be happening for the past month, the past 2 months maybe now on Kadena. I think 80 cent is in play, but technically speaking, there's a large cluster all the way down to 76. Now, let's actually make this slightly more concise and see if this moreover lines up with 80. So if we incorporate more data points, okay, apparently not. Doesn't want to do 350. Let's try 250. Here we go. So there is between 90 and this actually stops off at 80. So when we're being more precise, so what I did basically is instead of having a bunch of fat bars, which, you know, once again, they do tell you where a large amount of the volume is traded. But for example, if we only had like, let me show you, if we only had, instead of 250 histogram bars, let's say we had 3. So we put it to 3. This is going to be like, you know, it's not really going to show you where the absolute low is. And once again, it doesn't want to change number of histograms. I don't think it wants to do anything below maybe 10. So if we put it over to 10, once again, you can see it becomes very, very hard to see where the volume is traded. But the more histogram bars you have, the more easier and clear and concise it is. So when we do clear this up, what you can actually see is the largest cluster starts at right on 80 cent. And once again, this is the price that I've been predicting for quite some period in time right now. So that is really all I've got for you today for Kadena. And once again, if you're new to the channel, warm welcome. I normally do not do this type of analysis. I'm just doing something different because at this moment in time, I've provided a bunch of Kadena updates in the past couple of days, in the past month or so, but not the past month, well, in the past couple of days, I've been updating everything I can, talking about different signals, different technicals, bearish divergences, EMA ribbons, rejections, fractals, all of that good stuff. And it's got to the point where I've got nothing else to report on until we have that move. We're literally lollygagging with the same price that we've been for the past couple of days. And subsequently, I'll be providing a few different perspectives until I have something more to talk about from our original TA chart. So if you're a veteran to the channel and you did enjoy this type of analysis, let me know, because if this is something that the community wants to see more often, I will definitely include it in my regularly scheduled programming. One of the goals of my channel is to always provide an alternative perspective and to try and step outside the box when we're looking at the same chart for a prolonged period of time. So I'll always do this regardless whether people want it or not. So just let me know if you like it. You know, good feedback, good feedback. As always, my friends, Cowboy out. Peace.